Summer MacIntosh, Kylie Moss, Ilya Heroux, it seems like yesterday they were standing on the podium at La Défense Arena, draped in the red, white, and a lot of medals. And guess what? We're still talking about swimming in September, and I'm so pleased to be joined by Brittany MacLean because there's some big news, Britt. Yes, still swimming happening, and we're unveiling the short course World Championship Canadian team roster right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the best part. You and I love talking about swimming any given day, and the fact that we get to start these conversations in September. There's constantly going to be storylines to continue. All these athletes are now, most of them at least, are back into training. They're back in the swing of things. So we figured, what better time than now to chat a bit about what's going on?
Did they even get a day off?
Yes. I'm very confident that the entire roster has gotten a couple days, if not a couple weeks, if not even, some are probably pushing about 2 months. I would assume at third week of September now, they're all back in the water.
You're ready to get back in the water
Yeah.
and making some waves.
Yeah, but if there's ever time to take a break, it's right post-Olympics, right? Like it is, they've got a quad until they have to be at 100%. They can go to other qualifications at, 85 to 90 and still be where they want to be for that point, of course. But when it comes down to the Olympics, that's your 100%. If you want to get your head and your body in the right place 4 years from now, and they want to take a break, now is the time.
Well, hello to all the swimming fans out there, and thanks for tuning in. We're so excited that you're joining us. Enough waiting. Without further ado, let's look at the Canadian roster for the Short Course World Championships taking place in Budapest from December 10th until the 15th. Here is the roster. 18 Canadian swimmers are going to be heading to Budapest, and there is the roster. And so, Britt, break it down for us.
Well, what I'm most excited about, you mentioned Budapest. I got to watch Kylie Moss break her first world record in that very pool, Duna Arena. So it's going to be really special, I could imagine, for her to go back there. She's gotten to go a couple times. They've done some World Cups there, but for her to be competing at this, also one of my favorite memories in the sport was actually watching the Short Course Worlds in Windsor, her hometown.
Right.
So really great to see her on that list. Of course, Summer MacIntosh. I mean, to be able to see her race at any point, at any given moment is exciting as a fan. But I think this meet is built for her. And why do I think that? Because she's so versatile and she can swim it all. So she could technically go into this short course world and swim the 200 backstroke. She could swim the 100. She could swim 200 breast. Like, they have the world at their fingertips for this meet, which makes it so much more exciting. Of course, the men's side as well. We see Ilya Heroux. He's going to be coming off a short course yard season at Arizona State. So this is going to be awesome because he is already really strong in the short course yards. It will translate really well to the short course meters. And as you mentioned before, though, this short course world is a little bit less familiar.
Well, I want to get into all of that because I think that it would be a distance that I would excel at. I can handle 25 meters, Britt. There are so many names on that list. Penny Alexiak, of course, she's making her return to Short Course World since that 2016 show in Windsor.
And since climbing Mount Kilimanjaro next week. So looking forward to seeing what that's about. Like, I mean, we've talked about how versatile athletes have to just pick up and try different things, and it's the time to do it. So she's taken on a charity that's very close to her heart, and she's going to be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro next week. So how that builds into her training, I'm excited. I'm excited to find out.
I'm sure there are parallels between climbing the mountain, reaching a summit, and then finding another peak. And for more on that, I understand we're going to be joined right now by Mary-Sophie Harvey, who is on the roster and joining us now. And Mary-Sophie, anytime we get to talk to you is a great day. It's wonderful to see you. How are you? Congratulations on being named to the team and the roster and going and representing the country once again. What does this mean to you?
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. It's great. Honestly, I personally really love short course. I think it's a great way to start a season, especially coming off of the Olympics. It's like a bit less stressful and it's more fun. And I think we have a really fun team. So it's going to be a great way to start the season.
And we've talked a little bit about how this point of the season comes off of quite a little bit of rest for some athletes. I know you took a little bit of a vacation. What did the end of summer, early fall look like for you?
Yeah, so for me personally, I had 3 weeks off and that was all spent in Europe. And then as soon as I got back the day after I came back to Montreal, I was in the pool. It's my 5th week back, just because I'm going to World Cups that are coming up next month. I'm actually leaving on Friday. So early start, but I think it's a good start to get ready for Worlds.
Mary-Sophie, we've heard so many swimmers talk about the grind of the sport. And of course, we've talked about mental health. We've talked about taking a break physically. So now you're right back into this grind. Where are you physically, mentally, spiritually, all of those things as you sort of now flip the switch again and go?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like at first, I was like, as soon as I finished the Olympics, I was like, okay, I can't wait to go back into water, and I'm so ready. And then as soon as it started to settle a little bit with me, it was kind of harder to just wrap my head around, okay, like it's another quad, and what are my goals now? Because yes, like there's the 4-year plan, but also you need to have year by year and what you want to achieve within those years. So it was just like a little bit of a step back to see like, okay, so what are my objectives for the season, and then how can I move forward from them?
And we know, talking about setting goals, like next is these World Cups. And then we also are going to get to watch you at the Short Course World Championships. You mentioned how much fun it is. You are also one of those athletes that is incredibly versatile. You can do so many different events. Have you chatted yet with your coaches about any strategic plays with the schedule, what you think? I'm not asking you to give me your event lineup, but is there even a stroke? Like you can really do butterfly, backstroke, right? Like, have you decided if they're a focus for you going into the fall, or are you going to take this chance to play around with what you know you're already really strong at?
Well, already at World Cups, I'm gonna try some old races that I used to swim when I was younger, and I kind of like stopped for a while. So I'm kind of easing myself into them and see how it can turn out at Worlds.
Mary-Sophie, you had such a remarkable season last year. What a joy it was to be on the pool deck, Britt and I both, watching you really excel. We've had those post-race conversations at the Olympics where you were just having to digest. Now with a little bit more time removed from all of that, what are some things, some reflections that are sticking out from Paris that you can build on and that you'll cherish?
Yeah, I mean, like a bunch of people, like afterwards when I came back home, they were like, oh, like, how do you feel? Like, or they would just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. And the thing I want to like put into perspective is like, yes, like 4 times 4, the position kind of sucks. Sorry for my French. But the race in itself didn't. And that's what I'm building my trust in. I know I gave it my all, and I'm proud of the performance I did. And that's what I'm relying on. And I think it helps me fuel the little fire to get better for next season.
I think I can really relate to that too, because truly I came fourth at my first Olympics, and immediately I came home and it was the I'm sorry. And I was like, fourth was by far better than I ever dreamed of. So I want to give kudos to you, because I think you're really leading some of those conversations as well. And when you came fourth in that 200 freestyle, like in my mind, that was a gold medal. Like that performance, you left it all in the pool. That was truly all you could have done in that race. And you have to individually take those wins. And so I just wanted to thank you for continuing to be a leader on this team and to growing. And, you did that in the 200 freestyle. And then we see you make the Olympic team in the 100 butterfly. Like you can continue to kind of experiment with what your strengths still are. And at the age you are in this sport, that gets me really excited for what's to come.
Thank you.
How about that? That's a sparkling endorsement from Brittany MacLean. Mary-Sophie, okay, listen, we know the countdown is on. You're getting ready to set sail on this season. And so thank you for joining us. And perhaps we'll see you in Budapest. We're still working on the plans, but whatever the case may be, we'll be watching, and I know Canadian swim fans will be watching. Can't wait to see you swim at the Short Course Worlds. Thank you, Mary-Sophie.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant stuff. Britt, she's always been so raw and revealing about where she's at, and I'm wondering about the processing of all of this after the Olympics, and then again making that pivot, because it doesn't stop like we've been talking about. Yeah,
and I think even just as like I'm learning being on this side of it, like I think I just hit my post-Paralympic burnout like this week. Right. But you really do take some time. The vacation with the family right afterwards is amazing and it's fun, but it's almost like the time where you're still overexhausted and you're not really like physically getting the recovery you need. And then you come back, and if you try to start getting right back into training, like you can really put yourself a few steps backwards, both as you said, mentally, spiritually, physically, all of the things. And we often see athletes in the fall, whether they have an unexpected injury or they're getting sick or there's some questions you're just like, what am I not figuring out? And a lot of coaches are really smart and intentional about what these first couple months look like.
This international schedule, really since the pandemic, has felt like a tour de force, nonstop. And so we have this World Championship in Budapest, a long course, 50-meter World Championship next summer. So these athletes, again, are having to map out, like Mary-Sophie said, how to peak. 15 of the 18 were competing in Paris, but there are some rookies. So let's talk about those rookies, because what's impressed me about this program, they're turning out talent. And that's what you want. And so tell me about the rookies and what you're going to be looking for them, because it feels like less pressure, less stress.
It is. And it's a fun kind of entryway into this national team. We have Oliver Dawson. He's a breaststroker, as is Alexandre Lepage. So the two of them to be able to have their first experience on the senior international stage being with what I call this safe space in a sense, right? Like, it's a place that if failure does come, great, we learn from it, we pick it up and we move on. If you have the meat of your life, then awesome, you're on that stepping stone towards the LA Olympic Games. And it really is as simple as starting somewhere. I think they're both going to be surrounded by some really, really high level experienced athletes on this Canadian roster. We see not only, I know we haven't had a chance to mention them all, but you also have Sydney Pickerham in there, right? We have Ilya on the men's side, but we also have Finley Knox and Blake Tierney coming off an awesome season. So there's no lack of talent on this team, but for a new athlete, like I mentioned, Alexandre and Oliver, they come from just missing that Olympic team. And there's a really easy way of putting that, disappointment. Yes, but similar to what Mary-Sophie said, neither of them were going into that trials with a secured spot to qualify. It would have been awesome, for sure. Dream come true if either of them did. But this was a qualification. That trials was a qualification meet for this short course world. So they did the job to get on this team, and now they're going to have to make the most of the opportunity.
Some rapid fire stuff for you. For the casual fan, they're going short course worlds, 25 meters. We probably don't put as much into all of this, but can we assume that somebody like Summer MacIntosh, who's having all of this success in the 50-meter pool, that it just translates to the 25-meter pool? Or does it favor a type of stroke, a type of swimmer, Britt?
Yeah, definitely. Yes and no to both of those questions.
Right.
So can we expect the best out of Summer MacIntosh? Absolutely. This format is made for her. She is versatile. She can get up and swim the 200 fly and then do the 100 back and the 200 breast. Like the limits are endless. And if anyone's going to recover well and get back into the season really well, it is the young 18-year-old that is known to be kind of a workhorse. And so I don't worry at all about Summer. I'm very excited about what we can see her do. I think the opportunities are endless and the podiums are just going to be flying out of her pocket.
You
by
get
the
a
end.
medal.
Yeah,
you get a medal.
You. But I will say it is a bit unforgiving on long course. Short course, a little bit less so. So when you are in this early part of your season, you're coming off of a big break. It takes a little bit to get back into shape. The older you are, the longer it takes. Now with the short course, there's a lot more walls. It's a lot more about the details. We see athletes in short course, they can spend up to 60% of the race underwater.
That's incredible.
15 meters out of 25-meter pool. That same 15 meters long course only gets you 30% of the race. So this is all about underwater kick. You get a good 2 months of strength training in your legs, they can get through it. Maggie McNeil has a world record in the 50 backstroke. She had the world record in the 50 backstroke short course. And I think her backstroke's amazing, but a lot of that was just off her underwater kick alone, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at that, the pool does make a difference. The athletes that are in shape, it will be shown, but in theory, you can get away with a little bit more. And I think when you look at a long course pool, it's a lot about the stroke rate and tempo.
Yeah.
So when it's short course, holding that stroke rate and tempo is going to be a little bit less prevalent, and therefore you kind of see some of these, we call it old dogs, but they can stick around for a couple more months, do these World Cups, make some money, go to short course worlds, make a bit more prize money, and now all of a sudden you've extended your career by 3 months without doing a ton of difference.
I love short course worlds. In fact, my inundation to this whole thing, and I blame you and a bunch of people for the Windsor short course worlds in 2016. It was the first swimming event I ever covered, and it's just rapid fire, and it's rocking, and it's a bunch of fun. Okay, so you mentioned Maggie. She's not going. Either is Josh Leando. Of course, the NCAA season is in full swing. But what are you going to be looking for from the Canadians? You know, there was a short course worlds in 2021, 15 medals. Canada second overall, Britt, in the medal table there. 14 medals. It almost feels like all of the success they've had, you could forecast it from what was going on at the short course world. So they want to keep that momentum going. Should we be looking at medals? Should we look at individual swimmers? How will we rate this a success for the Canadians?
I feel like as Canadian sports fans in general, you have to be looking for medals. You have to get excited about things. It's a racing sport, right? So whoever touches the wall, you don't have to know the rules. You just watch it. And I think that creates the excitement. It's contagious. That's what we saw in Windsor. You know, the first medals started to drop and all of a sudden everybody was stepping up and reaching the podium. So I don't by any means think we can neglect the medals, but of course it doesn't tell you what the full long course roster is going to look like. It's going to be a stepping stone. I think there's two ways of looking at it. In one space, it's the end of the quad. I think it is like building off the momentum of Paris and you kind of just, this is the tying a bow on the season. But in another space, it's the beginning of the next quad. So you'll see a bit of the changing of the guards, the athletes that haven't decided yet if they're going to retire. What does that look like for them? Might as well toss my name in the hat and see if I can still race in a couple months. And does that spark new passion? Do I want to go to the long course? And then you see these new athletes like Oliver Dawson and Alexandre Lepage coming in and saying, you know, this is my chance to start the next 4 years off on the right foot. So you're going to see a little bit of both. I think it excites. The other side of things, it also typically exam season for the university athletes. So some of them have chosen to opt out because, you know, the training with exams, with school and all of it, the travel, you know, how it would take away from your schedule is just not priority A for a lot of people, nor should it be. So that's why you're seeing some opt in, some opt out. I wouldn't read entirely into it. I wouldn't worry about Josh Leando not being on this roster. He's doing just fine. He'll be focusing on Florida and what he needs to do there in the fall and then move forward.
Who knew swimming was so complicated?
I mean, it's
I thought
so
you just
fun.
get in the water and go fast. Britt, I love talking about this sport with you. We're going to be doing it a lot more because this really is a golden era for Canadian swimming. It feels like yesterday we were having these passionate conversations about what was going to happen in Paris. So we're winding down super quick. Maybe just some high-level thoughts and reflections from Paris. It feels like yesterday we were waving at each other from La Défense. I get goosebumps thinking about what happened there. So maybe a favorite memory from there for you.
Yeah, so just to put some context in, you know, we were at two different places. I was half in TV Tower, half in the Canada House. You were on the side of the pool deck. And so there was one night where I wasn't needed on the broadcast and I snuck myself into the pool. And what was really special about that is you can watch it on TV and hear the crowd and try to put into words what it feels like. And you do such a great job of that. But actually witnessing it, I got to be there for the 200 fly when Ilya brought home his first ever, you know, Olympic medal, but to see it happen on the men's side, and we had been celebrating summer all week, as we should have been, but then to be able to witness not only a historic moment in Canadian swimming history, but then it was a night where Léon Marchand took home 2 gold medals. So the French crowd, I've been so privileged in my career to experience what I think are some pretty energetic crowds, whether it's a college football game to an Olympic final, to so many other things, but in that moment, goosebumps. You could not describe the energy there. So even if it was just one night, for me personally, to get to witness it, to experience it, to have the chance to combine the passion and love I have for the sport and then to see it come to life and to watch Ilya win that medal and to wave down at you doing your thing, it was really special for me.
It is special. That place housed so many wonderful moments, of course, for the French, Léon Marchand, you know, seeing the young kids' families, hearts and minds being changed as they watch their sporting heroes. Of course, Summer MacIntosh, you know, I've covered her since she was 14 years old. And then to see her perform when she needed it most, and to me that is the magic of the Olympics, Britt, is on a singular moment, you meet the moment. And Summer did it time and time again, and now she's a household name, and her life has changed, right? Yeah. Her life has changed. There's no turning back for Summer MacIntosh, and of course she's going to be alongside 17 other Canadians in Budapest, December 10th to the 15th, and I know you and I are going to be covering it the whole way.
And it's just the beginning. Like I said, this is the path to LA just getting started. So these athletes, we're going to see a little bit, of course, of a changing of the guard, but that's the exciting part of sport, right? Like you take an opportunity that was Paris and see what happens with it. And so this is almost like the start of, I always joke, but it's like Christmas season is upon us, but it's like when you know the excitement's coming and it's building. And I know the Olympics just ended, but we're going to be talking about summer athletes. We're going to be talking about winter athletes here at CBC. There's just so much to look forward to. And I can't wait.
We love it. Okay, that's a wrap. December 10th to the 15th. Canada takes on the world at the World Short Course Championships in Budapest.